Good evening. Today is October 8th, 2009, and you're listening to WSND News, bringing you a student's perspective on the issues, individuals, and ideas that matter both on campus and off. On today's show, two student productions, one dealing with migration and one with juvenile detention. A speaker who sees Catholic underpinnings in the writings of C.S. Lewis, and an entirely student-run production of a Steven Sondheim musical. This is Patrick Brown, and you're listening to WSND News on the sound of Notre Dame, 88.9 WSND FM. Good afternoon, this is Patrick Brown on WSND 88.9 FM. It's our WSND News program, and we'll be starting with a piece about a recent speaker who came to the Notre Dame campus to talk about C.S. Lewis. The Notre Dame Center for Ethics and Culture's Catholic Culture Literature series features four influential authors, none of whom were Catholic, but all of whom shared much in common with Catholic theology and philosophy. T.S. Eliot, Simone Weil, C.S. Lewis, and Fyodor Dostoevsky all are being examined in separate talks given by different professors over the course of the semester. Last Tuesday, the center invited Professor Joseph Pearce, writer-in-residence and assistant professor of literature at Ave Maria University in Florida, to give a speech about C.S. Lewis. Professor Pearce is the co-editor of the St. Austin Review and editor-in-chief of Sapientia Press. In 2003, he published a book, C.S. Lewis and the Catholic Church. He was kind enough to sit down with us for a few words.
Yes, basically I wrote a book a few years ago called C.S. Lewis and the Catholic Church, which looked at C.S. Lewis's life and works from the perspective of the extent to which his views could be said to be harmonious with Catholicism and the extent to which they could be seen to be otherwise. And the basic conclusion is that throughout his life, he was very influenced by Catholic writers such as G.K. Chesterton, Dante, and J.R.R. Tolkien in his path to religious conversion, to becoming a Christian from his youthful atheism, and that throughout his life he moves closer and closer to a Catholic understanding of Christianity, particularly in the sacraments. Eventually all seven of the sacraments seem to be accepted by Lewis, but at the same time his Belfast, Northern Ireland Protestant upbringing left him feeling there was should we say, a bigotry and a prejudice against Catholicism in the sense of being uncomfortable with the position of the Blessed Virgin Mary and being uncomfortable with the position of the papacy. So those two prejudices, residual prejudices, remained and militated against this move towards a Catholic understanding of Christianity.
Professor Pearce and C.S. Lewis share a close personal connection. Both converted to theism after reading the works of G.K. Chesterton. Pearce was an agnostic who converted to Catholicism, and Lewis an atheist who converted to Anglicanism. We asked Professor Pearce whether he thought Lewis's writings had relevance to a contemporary audience.
Yes, I think very much so. The Catholic convert intellectual political philosopher Russell Kirk was asked back in 1990 whether T.S. Eliot and C.S. Lewis would have converted had they still been alive. And Kirk said Eliot definitely, C.S. Lewis probably. Now, of course, we can argue with Kirk, and we could even argue that it's hypothetical. But the point is that there's enough in C.S. Lewis's work to show that he was moving in the direction of a Catholic understanding of reality throughout his life. In his last book, published actually after he died, he reiterated his belief in purgatory and praying for the dead. He received the Anglican version of last rites. He went regularly to confession. So he was a very singular and unusual Anglican in the sense that he sort of had a very Catholic practice of his so-called Anglican faith.
Both Lewis and his good friend J.R.R. Tolkien have seen resurgent interest in the last couple of years. Professor Pearce has spoken extensively with Walter Hooper, literary executor of the C.S. Lewis estate.
And he states emphatically, and no one would know better than he, that that far more people are reading Lewis today than in Lewis's own lifetime. Lewis has become, we could even call it an industry. His books are selling by the million, and mostly these days, ironically, not so much by Anglicans, but by Catholics and by evangelical Protestants. But as I say, he's selling, for someone almost 50 years after his death, to be selling more books than he was selling during his own lifetime when he was very popular is a huge statement of his enduring relevance and importance.
Pearce has published books on J.R.R. Tolkien, Hilaire Belloc, G.K. Chesterton, Oscar Wilde, among others, but feels that the works of C.S. Lewis have a special resonance in these times.
One of the great beauties of C.S. Lewis is his ability to grapple with very complex philosophical and theological points in a very succinct and accessible manner, so that he can bring these philosophical discussions, these theological discussions, home to the intelligent laity, but remaining incredibly profound in his analysis. So this, as a great mind and a great thinker and a great communicator, and to have those two things combined, there are many people out there that have great minds but are not necessarily very good at communicating it, and many people who are great communicators and have great rhetoric, but they actually have a very false or bland or shallow philosophy. But to have the two combined, great intellectual wisdom and a great ability to communicate that, is rare and valuable.
Professor Joseph Pearce, world-recognized biographer of modern Christian literary figures, his book, C.S. Lewis and the Catholic Church, is available from Ignatius Press. The Pasquerilla East Musical Company, or PEMCO, was founded in 1997 and enters its 13th season as Notre Dame's student-run theater company, offering full-fledged productions of musicals and theater productions. They are currently in production for Steven Sondheim's musical company, playing October 8th through 10th at Washington Hall on the campus of the University of Notre Dame. We were able to talk to some cast and crew members about their upcoming production.
I am Lucy Lavely, and I am playing Joanne.
Company, originally released in 1970 on Broadway by Steven Sondheim and George Firth, revolves around Bobby, a single man unable to commit to a relationship, the 5 married couples who are his best friends, and his 3 girlfriends.
He's a 35-year-old male living in New York City. He's very well off, and he's a bit of a hustler. He enjoys many shallow relationships while also having 4 very close friends who are married and very happily married at that, and have children and are really experiencing a true married couple familial life that he does not, and he longs for that, and he sees that through his friends while also being very afraid to commit. So it's a story of relations between friends, relations between lovers, and where exactly they meet.
My name is Nick Brandt, and I play the character of Bobby.
This is Nick's first time acting in a PEMCO production, and says that the play company has a lot to offer to ND students.
Well, I think it's certainly, first and foremost, it's a study in the nature of relationships, why we get into them, why we get into relationships, what purpose they really have for us, both as individuals and, as a couple, once you engage in a relationship. So if anything, it'll help us, all the students, re-examine our own relationships and sort of find ways to kind of take little tidbits from it and apply it to our everyday lives with the people we meet and, in our dating social scene and whatnot. So definitely.